Electrical work introduction training. Warning: graphic content. The following images and/or content may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Important to note: this is not CETA accredited training, thus it has no validation outside of the company. Undergoing training does not mean that you can perform electrical installations. This is a secondary internal process to inform you of the procedures and requirements within the company. Training outcomes. What safety equipment and gear is required? Know how to implement a LOTO procedure. Know how to adhere to a LOTO procedure. Know what procedures to use when and the basic rules for working with electricity. Documents required to have with you on this training is the training test. Please have the training test in front of you while we do this training. What is electrical work? Electrical work is defined as work being done where electricity forms a component, thus by installing electrical connections and/or cables or working on electrical installments and/or cables. Electrical resource work is defined as work being performed using electricity, be that for tools and/or equipment or lights, etc. It's important to note the difference. Electrical work is if you are going to work on electricity and not use electrical equipment or tools. Note that this training does not include how to work with electrical tools, power tools, or equipment. However, the principles are applicable. Refer to your site Works training for instructions on using tools and equipment. Now, should the procedure in this training not cover the requirements to manage the electrical hazards on site, contact your safety officer or manager before continuing work. Danger of electricity. The danger or risk of working with electricity is the electricity itself, as it could cause electrocution, which is fatal, electrical shock, which can vary from minor to serious injury, electrical burns, also from first degree to third degree burns, and electrical fires. What is volts and amps? From a safety point of view, voltage is the standard measurable danger element which can define which is more dangerous. As to which kills you, the amps or the volts. Given your body is a constant resistance, it really is a combination of both. Higher voltage means higher amperage, and thus higher voltage is more potential to kill. Simply put, we will look at voltage. If voltage is high, it is more dangerous than a low voltage. Safety equipment or gear required for this procedure. Safety boots, rubber soles with steel points, a red lock with one key, a lockout information tags, electrical voltage tester, and a fire extinguisher class C. When purchasing safety gear or equipment, firstly, add it to your inventory list. Secondly, note the purchase and the manufacturing date. Then thirdly, send the details of the purchase to the safety officer, including a copy of the invoice, the manufacturer's specs and dates, and the inventory list which you have updated. Electrical installations. At Savuka Telecoms, we currently have 3 factors of electrical work, namely container connection, main supply connection, and working around electricity. Container connection will be when you connect the DB of the container and when you connect the rectifier or any other cabinets, etc., to the DB. Main supply connection will be when you connect the containers DB to the main supply, and when you install the connection between the main supply and the container. And working around electricity will be if other people are working on electricity, or when you are working in close proximity to electrical wires or connections. Lotto. On all these different types of electrical installations, you will either perform the Lotto procedure or you will have to adhere to the Lotto procedure. Thus, you need to know the Lotto procedure and requirements by heart. Thus, what is Lotto? Lotto stands for lock out to tag out. The Lotto refers to the lockout procedure to be used when working on electrical systems. This procedure can be used whenever electricity needs to be shut down in order to perform work with the safety that it will not be turned on while work is being done on the stream. The Lotto isn't just putting a lock and tag on the access point to the main supply, which to prevent accidental power on. By informing people that someone is working on the power, it is also to ensure that there aren't any power on the line and confirm that it has been verified. Lotto procedure. Let's start the Lotto procedure step by step. Please pay attention. Step 1. Notify personnel. All employees need to be made aware that a lockout or tag out is going to take place. This includes the affected employees, the responsible, the qualified employee who will be in charge of the lockout, and any other persons affected or related to the lockout or tag out. Step 2. Disconnect and de-energize. The responsible qualified person shall ensure the load is interrupted and disconnected from all energy sources to de-energize the circuit or equipment. This includes interrupted load. Switch should be activated to turn off the circuit or equipment. And de-energize, operate disconnecting means and verify disconnection. Step 3. Release stored energy. After disconnecting and de-energizing, residual energy may remain stored in the equipment or circuits. Electrical energy from capacitors must be discharged and high capacitance elements short-circuited according to the established procedures. Procedures must also be coordinated with other Lotto efforts, and stored energy such as hydraulic, pneumatic and mechanical must be released. Step 4. Apply locks and or tags. Apply locks or tags to the disconnecting means used to de-energize the circuit. A tag without the use of a lock may only be applied in situations where the equipment does not allow a lock. If a tag is used, another safety measure must be used to protect employees. The responsible person must account for all exposed employees. Lock use. The exposed employee shall apply a lock or be accounted for by other means. Tag use. Each employee shall apply a tag, sign tag, or be accounted for by other means. Additional safety measure with tag. Removal of an isolating circuit element, blocking of a controlling switch, opening of an extra disconnecting device, or the removal of the valve handle to reduce the likelihood of an inadvertent energization. Step 5. Verification. Attempt to operate. Ensure the equipment or circuit is de-energized and cannot be re-energized with a lock or tag in place by attempting to operate the equipment, switches and/or other disconnecting means. Step 6. Verification. Test for the absence of voltage. Testing for the absence of voltage is a critical step. The tester itself must be tested before and after the equipment or circuit to complete the verification process. Follow the following steps for verification. Select an appropriate voltage tester. Inspect the tester. Verify proper operation of tester. Test for voltage. Step 7. Apply grounds. Where there is a potential for inducing voltage, release the stored electrical energy or other potential contact with energized parts. Apply grounds rated for the maximum available fault current for the time necessary to clear the fault. Step 8. Perform work. Once the Lotto procedure has been completed according to the established procedures, work can be performed using approved work practices. The Lotto will remain in place until work is complete. If testing or positioning requires the equipment to be re-energized, contact your supervisor for applicable procedures. If work must extend for more than one work period, one energy source, one work location, or if another individual or crew is involved, the complex Lotto procedure must be used. Step 9. Removal of simple Lotto. 1. Perform quality tests and checks. 2. Remove locks or tags. 3. Notify owner and return disconnect to operating condition. 4. Verify task complete. 5. Remove tools and equipment. 6. Remove grounds. 7. Notify personnel. Lotto procedures of third parties. When requesting a landlord or third party to perform a Lotto, you will have to follow their procedures, as it might be more complex systems and their Lotto procedure covers the specifications of their system. Ensure the following: that the requirements in our Lotto is covered. This is a minimum requirement. And verify that you are not receiving any voltage, that the system has been completely de-energized. Container work. When working on a container, the entire lockout procedure becomes redundant because there won't necessarily be access from other parties. However, the lockout procedure could still be a great way of preventing incidents. Just simplify it. Let's look at the simplification. When working on the DB, firstly, this only applies to the DB on the container. Do not simplify if the DB is in another room within the building or structure, or if you are working on the main supply DB or the landlord's DB, or if the DB is outside of the perimeters of the site. When working on the DB on the container, you can simply just skip to step 4, where you apply a lock or tag to the DB door. Then if you leave, you will have the DB door locked and you will be the only person with the key. Thus no one can access the DB without coming to you to unlock it. When working on a rectifier, do not wear rings or watches. This is a general good rule for working on site. Space is tight and jewelry could cause electrical shock and/or ring avulsion. When connecting the rectifier, switch off the main supply in the DB before connecting to the breaker. Thus no Lotto is required. Do not work on the DB while it is connected to live power. Prepare the rectifier fully before connecting to the DB. Working on main supply. Perform the full lotto procedure when connecting to the main supply. You cannot simplify this work. What you can do is prepare the entire connection beforehand and then being present at the switch the entire time you are connecting your cables to the main supply. But if you are going to leave the switch unattended, ensure to follow the lotto. This will only be applicable if the main switch is within arm reach and constant eye view. And remember to ensure that the system is de-energized and no voltage is coming through. Trenching for electrical cables. When installing a main supply cable, you will most likely be required to perform trenching. When trenching, ensure to abide with the following. 1. Ensure the area digging has no existing electrical wires or water pipes, etc. Ensure all digging equipment, picks and mattocks handles are non-conducting. Ensure a minimum of 2 meter radius is free of people around the person digging or using picks, mattocks or shovels. Ensure proper PPE is worn, minimum being a hard hat, gloves and the proper boots. Working around electricity. This is probably the most dangerous simply because you are not aware of the danger involved. Thus follow these simple rules when working around electricity and or people working on electricity. People working on electricity. Communication is important. If there are people working around you, be it on electricity or anything else, feel free to communicate with them. Secondly, do not interfere with their work. Do not walk over the area in which they are working. Do not touch anything this person is working on or close to, and always keep a safe 2 meters away at all time. Should you see a hazard, report it. Communicate with this person or people to ensure that everyone is aware of the hazard. And thirdly, do not touch. Even if you do not see a person working and you come across a lockout tag, do not touch anything beyond that tag. Remember, not everybody works on the same specs, and thus the tags or locks may not all look exactly the same. But in any manner, if something is locked or if there is a tag on stating that you are not authorized to touch it, do not touch it. Contact the person noted on the tag, or if there isn't anyone noted, contact the landlord and have them send a responsible person to turn it back on if you need it on, or off if you need it off. You personally do not just turn on or off any switch without written consent from an appropriate authority giving you permission to do so and followed the exact right lotto procedure. Electrical wires or connections. If there is even a slight possibility of contact with live electrical wires, ask the landlord or distributor to perform a lotto on the power supply to the wires and verify before starting work. Report any possible contact hazards. Do not touch. If you see a tag or a lock, do not interfere. Contact the person noted or the landlord and have a responsible person come and assist you. Do not turn on any switches even if there is no lockout or tag out. First, get the proper written consent from the appropriate authority. Electrical warning signs. Note that electrical signs may vary from place to place. You have to be able to interpret them on your own, as we cannot cover all possibilities. Look at the following as guidelines: the wording, the pictures, and the colors. Here are some of the most common elements and what to do if you see these. Seeing as most signs has 3 elements, namely wording, pictures, and colors. The ones you should really look out for when working with electricity in wording would be danger and caution. There could also be warning. When it is stated as danger, this is dangerous. It could be high voltage or any other danger which could cause fatality and or serious injury. Caution will state for you to be aware of the danger. This could injure you but not necessarily cause a fatality, however not limited to just injury. There could be other words, like an instruction telling you that you are not authorized to access or do not touch. Please, whatever the wording says, it must be abided to at all costs. The picture will indicate what type of hazard or where the hazard is found, etc. The most common is a lightning bolt. This indicates that there is a possible electrical shock. The color will indicate the intensity of the danger. Then there's also one that looks like an exposed wire. This means that there are live wires, either exposed or with ends that are not covered. Then the color. If it's red, it is severely dangerous and fatality is a almost definite possibility, while a yellow is an injury possibility as a definite and fatality is still a possibility. Regardless of the sign, whenever you see the signs, there are two basic control measures for you to follow. Firstly, avoid as far as reasonably possible. If contact is required, ensure to perform a lotto first. And control measure 2, if an instruction is given, follow it accordingly, such as authorized persons only. Either be an authorized person or be accompanied by one. Follow whatever instruction the sign gives exactly. Do not touch a person being electrocuted or whom has been electrocuted. If you do so, you too can become electrocuted. Check for conducting elements around the person. Do not come in contact with this conducting element. Separate the person from the source of power by turning off the source, unplugging the source, or by using a stick that does not conduct to remove the source from the person. Stand on a rubber surface or use your safety boot which has rubberized soles. Get help. Call an ambulance to come and assist and see if the person is responsive. Place them in the safety position and talk to the person until help arrives. If the person is not, check for a pulse and breathing. If needed, CPR. Please refer to your first aid training procedures when CPR, pulse and breathing, and the correct fire. It is very important. You must have a Class C fire extinguisher at hand when working on carbon dioxide. Except water-based extinguisher will cause a bigger fire and electrocute. Use any other extinguisher. Carbon dioxide. Details on how to use your Never ignore a lock or tag. Never work on live power. Keep communication open. Be aware of your surroundings. Never touch an exposed wire. Always adhere to the signs and report all hazards, all procedures. Always ask yourself before you work. Just say no to electrical hazards. Before you turn it on, make sure you say no to the following. Are outlets, motors or circuits overloaded? Are cords running near heat or water sources? Are cords twisted or tangled? Do I see sparks or are my hands wet? Am I wearing any metal jewelry? If all your answers are no, you can start work. Training test. The training test will now commence. Please get your test form ready in front of you and follow the instructions accordingly. Please do not cheat on the training test. In other words, do not work in groups to get the answers. Do not ask another person for the answers or copy another person's answers. And the managers and training provider is not allowed to give any of the answers for the test. Remember, the test is done to see if you understand. If you cheat, we will not know if you need further training. You will not be discriminated against for getting a low score. This means you will not be fired. You will not have disciplinary action taken against you. You will also have an opportunity to retake the test without additional training. This will be at your own risk, and if the score again is very low, then you will be contacted and the training will be explained to you in whichever manner is required, and thereafter you will then be required to retake the test. If you have problems with reading and writing, please just inform the training provider and or manager, whom will then assist you with completing the test verbally. Training information. Complete the required information for the training. Some of the information may already be completed, as indicated in red on this presentation. Enter the date of training. Enter the location of training. If not already completed, please insert the trainer name, the trainer designation, and the training method. Now complete your information under Employee Information. Enter your name and surname. Enter your ID number. Enter your designation. Tick the appropriate box according to your relationship towards the company. Sign to confirm. Remember that you are confirming that you have received the training and that you understand your duties and responsibilities towards this training and how to implement them in the field. Furthermore, you also confirm that you did the test on your own and that you did not in any way get help to determine the answers. Your results will be found in the bottom section when the test is returned to you after being evaluated. Do not complete this section. This is for the evaluator to complete only. Question 1. True or false? Read the statement and then indicate in the appropriate box whether the statement is true or false. For example, question 1.1. A safe worker is a hard worker. This statement is true, thus indicate true. Example 1.2 indicates how these questions can sometimes be a little bit tricky. Ensure to read the statement carefully and understand it. A tree falling in the woods with no one to hear it makes a noise. This statement is false. So indicate false if the statement is not true. Example 1.3. Smiling every day makes you happy. This statement is true. So you will indicate in the true box. And remember to smile at least once a day. Voltage is the only dangerous component in electricity. A Class C carbon dioxide fire extinguisher is required to fight electrical fires. One of the lotto is to notify personnel. If this is done, there does not need to be a logout or tagout at the main supply. When connecting the main supply to the DB does not need to be locked unless you are leaving the DB with the wires exposed and or if the main switch in the DB should remain off. A lockout and tagout must include the information of the responsible person whom should be contacted should change or contact be required. The system must be verified for the absence of voltage before any work may commence. 7. Always assume that the tester is working and that the results are correct. Once completed, the removal of the lotto requires to perform a quality test. Remove the tags, locks, notify the owner, verify task complete, remove tools and equipment, remove grounds, and notify personnel. Jewelry must be removed before working on electricity and or when working on equipment where hands must move in restricted areas. The procedure must be implemented by the landlord. You are not allowed to follow the procedures which they have in place. Question 2. Multiple choice. Answer the question by indicating which of the multiple answers is correct. Note that there can be multiple correct answers to a question. For example, what needs to be checked on your vehicle daily? A. Tires. B. Oil. C. Engine water. D. Seat covers. In this example, A, B, and C are correct. Thus, indicate that they are correct. D. Seat covers do not need to be checked daily and thus can be indicated as incorrect as shown. Electrical work is defined as working with a battery-powered drill, working in an office under lights. Electrical work is defined as work being done where electricity forms a component, thus by installing electrical connections and or cables, working with a handsaw. What risks are present when electricity is involved? A. Electrocution, electrical shock, electrical burns. D. Electrical fires. What are the electrical installations covered by the company's procedures? Container connection, main supply connection, working around electricity. A lotto procedure must be followed when A. There is a possibility of accidental switching on while persons are working on the supply. When accidental contact is possible with live wires when performing work, any work. While prepping the rectifier or connecting to the DB. When connecting the rectifier to the container DB and the DB must be left unattended to perform other work. When a person has been electrocuted, the following must be done. Immediately commence with CPR. Ensure you are safe from being electrocuted before touching the person. Contact an ambulance if the person is responsive. Question 3. Match column A to column B. Match what is in column A with the appropriate statement in column B by drawing a line between the two matching points. Note, this can be pictures or words, and one point in column A will not have multiple options in column B. For example, you can have pictures or words as indicated in the example below. 3.1 is a tree, thus draw the line between 3.1 and B. 3.2 is a flower, thus a line would be drawn between 3.2 and A. The same goes for the words. Look for the statement that matches the word in column A. 3.3 would be a natural liquid, thus 3.3 would go to D, and Rock or stone is a natural substance, a solid aggregate of one or more minerals, which would mean 3.4 would go to C. Thus, just draw the line between the answers. Look at your possible answers. The wires are live. Thus, if you come into contact with these wires, you could be electrocuted or seriously injured. Dangerous electrical equipment. No entry by a person whom is not authorized in writing. High voltage is in the area. Do not enter or work in this area without performing a lotto to remove the danger. Before you perform work, ensure that a lotto has been performed and verify the implementation. There is an electrical hazard, thus electrocution, electrical shocks, electrical burns or electrical fires could occur. Match the image with the statement. 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 Training completed. Thank you for completing this training. Now there's a couple of steps to finalize the training. First, send the completed tests to the safety officer. Then, also ensure that the safety officer has all the details of the persons taking the training test. This includes IDs, copies, and contact numbers. Your results will be sent to you. If you passed, you will receive a certificate with your results. If failed, you will receive instructions in order to get you competent. Please remember that this training is not certified and is not CETA accredited training. This is in-house training, and thus a certification will not be valid at any other company outside of Savuka Telecoms. Thank you.